5.
Welcome back, 365 Sports. Top 5 out of nowhere Heisman candidates. If you had told me that any of these 5 people had been Heisman candidates at the beginning of the year, I would have told you, well, it's going to take a lot.
Doesn't that happen now more often than not?
Yeah, I'm glad it does. It's good that we're not,
like a preseason college football.
Yeah, we're not
top 25
pre-nominating, ordaining the Heisman Trophy winner. Well, especially look now, and sometimes maybe it's harder, especially when the Heisman Trophy winner from last year is back. Most of the time throughout history in college football, the guy wins the Heisman Trophy and you never see him again in college football. He's on to the next event. But that's not necessarily the case when you've got a guy like Bryce Young who wins it before he's draft eligible, or so many other guys that have recently. Number 5, North Carolina quarterback Drake Maye. This dude can sling it. Now, he's a dark horse. All these guys are some level of dark horse, except for maybe the next one. But even still, they're all a little bit dark horse candidates. But Drake Maye can sling it around. If you've not watched North Carolina play, don't get hung up on the fact that they cannot stop anybody or tackle all that well, but they can score, and it's because of this dude right here. He is unreal good.
And that's after Howell was supposed to be like their savior, and it didn't. He was okay, and now Drake Maye.
Yeah, he's special. I mean, he is. Max got a good one, and he'll be all in the NFL discussions and all that kind of stuff moving forward. He's a good one. He's a very good player, and I think if you followed recruiting, you talked about Drake Maye. So there is a difference because not everybody in college, it's like I was talking about the graphs and stuff earlier. There's a whole market for numbers games, right? And there's a whole market for recruiting, and there's a whole market for NIL. There's all these things that some of us, touch on all of them. But yeah, I mean, if you followed recruiting, you probably knew about Drake Maye, and he's a good one. For sure.
Still got him there for a couple of years, too. So you're going to see a lot of...
Was he... what's his class?
He's a freshman.
Freshman. Okay, so that's a Mac Brown gem. Okay.
Yeah. Number 4, right out of the transfer portal from Virginia Tech to Tennessee, Hendon Hooker, who is up towards the top right now. But if you told me at the beginning of the year that a guy who's, I thought their ceiling was probably 9-3, Tennessee, I thought that's what they were going to be. Hendon Hooker was a fine player and looked like he was on the rise. But what he's done so far this year is nothing short of amazing. And, if they continue to win, he's probably going to be sitting in one of those chairs on Heisman night. He's been fantastic, and Virginia Tech's going to be kind of kicking themselves for how they didn't work it out and make it amenable for him to stay there. But this has worked out for him, for Tennessee, and for everybody. But Virginia Tech, the place he transferred from.
They kicked the field goal to win the game, and they were dynamic with the long throws. But the thing that was impressive is it gets overlooked, and Saban mentioned that Alabama played too soft. He threw a couple of ropes.
Yeah.
A couple of, long enough to be giving them a chance. Ropes on the nose, perfectly thrown in that last drive to set up the game-winning field goal.
Not to be left out with him either. He's doing this all without the guy they thought was going to be the number 1 wide receiver. Now, Jalen Hyatt has stepped up huge.
He's been
incredible the last few weeks.
Man, he's having the type of year, Corey Coleman had a monster year for the Blitnikoff a few years back, and I remember that one because it was right, here. But he's going to just shatter all the numbers.
But they're going to get the number 1 guy back, too, eventually. And that's going to make them even more lethal going forward. Now that they have guys and not to mention a guy like Brew McCoy, who's their 3rd or 4th wide receiver, but still, they've got talent there.
Yeah, to your point, I think most Virginia Tech fans feel the same way. I think the good thing is that it's not like a screw that guy. It's just kind of we screwed that one up more so. And he's having an incredible year. I definitely wouldn't have pegged him. I mean, you might have thought, okay, Tennessee, their investments and Josh Heupel on that offense and some fun weapons. You might have thought he's having a good year, but Heisman run, unbeaten at this stage, all that. No, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Number 3, Chase Brown, Illinois. If you had said anybody, Illinois, not just Chase Brown, even though you may have known he was talented, but if you had said anybody Illinois and Heisman hype before the season started, are you okay? Are you need to go to rehab or something? You're out of your mind. But Chase Brown's dominant. Maybe there's so many good running backs this year, but one of the best backs in the country, and a dude nobody was talking about, and really fun to watch, a playmaker. That team is built defense first, and they're built to the running game, so they have to make plays in the running game.
Yeah.
But when called upon, Chase Brown seems to hey, you need a big play in this spot, you need 17 yards. Chase Brown gets all 17 of them.
Yeah, very good player. Illinois with Bielema. I paid a little attention to them because of Lovie Smith and whatnot years back, but he was able to recruit relatively well and not get it done on the field. But yeah, Chase Brown's been fantastic. I mean, I don't know how big the college fantasy football market is. I feel like there's probably a pretty good market for it, but it could probably be way, way bigger. Like he would be a dude that you'd be hearing all the rage about.
The NCAA needs to embrace it like the NFL has.
Yeah, I don't know what the kind of parameters are and like how all that works, but I'd imagine we're going to have full blown that too, in the very near future if we don't already. But yeah, I mean he's every game this year had 100 yards, dating back for a while now. So yeah, very impressive.
Number 2, this one I would not have believed, Bo Nix, because he was such a roller coaster, and not even a good one at times. It was just he could have.
Are there any good roller coasters?
Yeah, I love roller coasters, but if there's a dude, I mean, his one skill at Auburn seemed to be he can have 57 really bad minutes of football, and if they were within a score in the last 3 minutes, he could make crazy stuff happen. Yeah. Now, the ratio is flipped. I mean, he might have 3 bad minutes a game. I mean, he is playing out of his mind. Kenny Dillingham has put him in a system that works for him. He is ripping it up there in Oregon. And take out the one game he still had to play in the SEC this year, and he's one of the best players in the country by far.
Yeah, he's been fun to watch. That's a great story right there.
Yeah, and Zach Calzada was going to be better, or anybody else they want. JT Finley is going to be better, and I mean, I know that's not the.
But Auburn is on a run of bad things happening.
Yeah, it's
to
just
them.
just to see him doing his thing after the run there, and then we got Calzada or we got JT Finley or whatever, or TJ Finley, excuse me. Yeah, to see him doing that, I can't imagine how Auburn fans must feel to see that. But I'm glad for Bo Nix, man. Good for him. He took a lot of S over the years, and to go up there and thrive in Oregon, I'm not shocked because that just seems like a more fun place to play at the moment and more open place to play. But yeah, to have limited the mistakes, which he kind of became known for, has been, the biggest part of him, being in this discussion. And I think it's awesome for him.
Yeah, if you had told me he was going to be better at Oregon, I'd been okay. But this much better, holy cow. It has really worked out. And number 1, a guy who did not win the starting quarterback job out of camp, Max Duggan. And he was a guy who was an emotional roller coaster. I've used that again, but that was his problem, was the moment would overwhelm him sometimes, and he would get too fired up. Well, now Sonny Dykes and Garrett Riley have him cool as a cucumber for the most part and channeling that intensity in the right ways. Now, we saw him against Baylor in a game where he was a hair's breadth away from winning that game in a video review call of that.
Oh, my Lord.
But that was kind of the lesser. It's kind of almost like Bo Nix. You got to see those moments from Max Duggan, but then there were games where, especially ones that TCU shouldn't have been losing, that he would just you would look onto the sideline and you got to calm down, brother.
Yeah.
It's okay. Go out there and be Max Duggan. Now he's going out there and being Max, and it is fun to watch that.
He runs that way too. I mean, he runs like he's mad at the world.
He's been very fortunate to stay healthy in a league where quarterbacks aren't staying healthy. That's been as big a part for them. Now, thankfully, you got Chandler Morris to fall back on if you're TCU, the guy you named the starter at the beginning of the year. I think my biggest takeaway from Max Duggan is if Gary Patterson's ever a head coach again, he needs to really chill out and reanalyze or analyze kind of the way he left TCU in terms of just the stress levels and the anxiety and the way that made people feel. Because, man, it's like the sun came out for the first time in 2 years out in Fort Worth right now. Mm-hmm. Everybody's happy. Everybody's jovial and just loving the season and all that. And you just know, even if they were still sitting there carrying this record with the old regime, there would just be this rigidness of just this, and instead, they're carefree and they're playing loose and they're having fun and they're not stressed out. And I think that's a massive part to why he's thriving and why the team's thriving, is because they're more relaxed, man. And that goes a long way. So kudos to Sonny Dykes for flipping that culture. And, again, if Gary Patterson's a coach again, I think that's something he needs to kind of look in the mirror a little bit and go, you know what, I probably need to just ease it up a little bit.
I learned from a dog trainer one time that your dog will match your personality.
Yep.
So if you are high strung.
They say that about athletes and the coach.
And so it's the same thing. So if you're high strung, then the players are going to be high strung. Just like if you have a dog and you wonder why, I had an aunt who was just the most high strung person in the world, and she had a little poodle, and that thing was a yip yip like you would not believe, and it just like when she was all worked up, that poodle would yip yip, and you're like, I don't know if I can take either.
Well,
of
yeah,
this.
a poodle or like a chihuahua is not very good for a high-strung person. They're just going to go off of each other. Yeah,
Those ankle biter dogs like Lhasa Apsos and stuff, those are like just angry or act like they are, and they're just always talking, always talking. All right, Paul, good stuff. Thank you very